I landed in Cuba during a layover and spent 24 hours in Havana. This was one of the luckiest moments of my life as a journey of memories began to unfold. How do you know Cuba? Vintage cars. Old Havana.
Vietnam, Cuba, unidos venceremos.
Our rum, cigars, or Latin music? Everything will be in the story I'm about to tell you today. Let's explore the capital of Havana with me right now.
¡Vámonos! ¿Qué cosa? 55.
Deberían 55.
55.
Yes.
The first sign you'll notice are these vintage cars. And this is the first car I saw after leaving the airport. Ocean Park. It's been so many years since I've been back in Cuba. So I'm feeling very excited. I was just chatting with the driver, and he told me that tourism in the capital, Havana, is quite difficult right now with very few visitors. As you can see, the signature sites are the vintage cars from the 1940s and 50s, which fill the city streets. You don't see many of them here, but once we head into the city center, you'll see more. Most of them are being used as taxis. Many of you are probably wondering why such a large number of vintage cars still exist in Cuba. My answer is that it began with the embargo. Since the early 1960s, economic sanctions have pushed Cuba into a state of near isolation from the global supply chain. Especially in the automotive industry, new cars cannot be imported through normal channels. Spare parts have become scarce, while the societal demand for transportation remains constant. Under these harsh conditions, Cubans were forced to maintain vehicles imported before 1959, mostly American cars from the 1940s and 1950s. They repair, modify, replace engines, and swap parts by any means possible. Economically, this is a process of extending the lifespan of production assets in an economy with limited options. And socially, it is a clear manifestation of adaptability and creativity. From those very circumstances, Cuba gradually turned vintage cars into a one-of-a-kind heritage. Not as a closed museum, but as a living space. It's a place where classic cars still roam the streets every day, a world of vintage automobiles in actual operation, with a density greater than any cinematic recreation of a bygone era. Havana is therefore not just a city, but a living historical record. With every turn of the wheel comes a slice of politics, economy, and collective memory that persists today, despite all the constraints of the past. Right now, I'm arriving at Revolution Square in the heart of Havana. This is where the central government headquarters are located.
Very nice. Very, very nice.
Classic cars are truly a signature of Cuba. This is a very beautiful classic car. I'm not sure which model it is yet.
Es un Puntier año 57.
57. Đây là chiếc xe từ đời năm 1957. Y ahora, ¿cómo gasta de gasolina?
No, tiene un motor de petróleo.
De petróleo.
Diesel.
Ajá, diésel. Y ahora, ¿de qué marca es su motor?
Hyundai.
Hyundai. Tức là chiếc xe này Pontiac, nhưng mà bây giờ thì Pontiac, right?
By now, they have been retrofitted with Hyundai engines. This is a gathering point for many tourists who are passionate about these vintage cars. In Cuba, these cars are now considered national heritage and are not allowed to be sold abroad. They can only be bought, sold, or traded among Cuban citizens. Previously, many collectors, especially wealthy ones from the US and other countries, came to Cuba to buy these cars. As a result, Cuba went through a period of heritage drain regarding its vintage cars. And now, these cars only circulate within the country of Cuba. You can see them everywhere you go. I always tell everyone that Cuban mechanics are the best in the world. Because even now, these cars from the 30S, 40S, and 50S are still in use and running normally. Check out these convertibles. This one is a Ford, everyone.
Pontiac, ¿de qué año es?
This is a 1958 Pontiac, and here is its owner. They brought it out here, and here's the engine of this 1958 Pontiac. The engine in this car is the original 1958 Pontiac unit. Tourists coming here can pay a fee to take this car for a tour of Havana's entire old quarter. The cost for this is $7. Just $7 to ride around this area in this classic car. If I were to tell the story of the vintage car world in Cuba, I would choose to start at Revolution Square. Not just because of its historical significance, but because this is where a whole vintage car ecosystem is concentrated. The most iconic symbols of Havana, Cuba. Here, you can easily find familiar names from the American automotive industry. Most of them were manufactured in the early 1950s. In terms of design, it was the golden age of American style with large bodies, rounded curves, chrome bumpers, and decorative details that were more about style than technical optimization. However, the real story lies beneath the hood. Today, most of these cars no longer use their original engines. Through decades of spare part shortages, Cubans have replaced them with Japanese or Korean engines. Usually durable diesel or small displacement gasoline engines, they are easier to repair and more fuel efficient. From a mechanical standpoint, this is a fascinating fusion between 1950s American car bodies and late 20th century Asian engine technology. This very combination has allowed these classic cars to not only survive, but also run reliably for daily use. They are no longer pristine museum pieces, but machines reborn to fit Cuba's economic and technical realities. Today, these cars have become an integral part of life. In tourism, owners display them for photos or offer rides around the capital, Havana. However, looking deeper, this is more than just a service. It is how Cubans transform mechanical knowledge, automotive history, and their unique economic circumstances into a way of life. And here, one of these Coco taxis is also very famous in Cuba. This one looks just like a coconut. According to the listed price, the cost for a vintage car tour in Havana starts at around $7. For that price, visitors can ride in cars over 60 to 75 years old, cruising along the Malecon coastline before heading into the Old Town. The total distance is approximately 10 to 12 kilometers for a complete tour of the city. Upon entering Old Havana, these pastel-colored Fords and Pontiacs stand out beautifully against the rows of time-worn buildings. The engines have been replaced, but the car bodies, dashboards, steering wheels, and chrome accents still preserve the spirit of the 1950s. The contrast between the classic exterior and the modern mechanical heart creates an experience that is both nostalgic and practical. This is the owner of the car, and he says this Cadillac is a 1952 model. This is a gasoline-powered Cadillac with a V8 engine, manufactured in 1952.
Mío, es mi trabajo.
Ah, es su trabajo.
Es de un amigo mío.
Ah, ya.
Lo compró en el 2015.
2015.
Tuvo que restaurarlo.
He is saying that in Havana, there are only 5 or 6 Cadillac convertibles that run on gasoline, have a V8 engine, and are automatic like this. This is one of Cadillac's masterpieces. Stepping into the Hotel Inglaterra, right in the heart of Havana. I stopped in front of a small cigar display, yet one that carries immense cultural weight. This is what's called a cigar humidor. Let's take a look inside the hotel's humidor.
Hola. Hola.
These are Cuban cigars. As we know, Cuba is very famous for these and for rum as well. We have rum here, Havana Club, and here are all kinds of cigars, everyone. $10 per stick. These are Romeo and Julieta, but which number is this? This is a no, 2, which is a bit small. And over here, they're $21 a stick. What line is this? This is the Churchill line. Cigar aficionados might find this cheap, but I think it's a bit pricey. $44. I have to say, there was a time when I really enjoyed smoking cigars. But the cost eventually got quite high, so I stopped. But honestly, visiting Cuba, this really is the land of cigars. The quality is exceptionally high, and they are also very good. Thirdly, it is a matter of culture. So that is why you should give it a try. Cuba possesses approximately 27 state-recognized cigar brands. In Cuba, cigars are not merely consumer products. They are a part of the national identity, a heritage tied to economic history and spiritual life. Cuba is considered the holy land of cigars due to its unparalleled natural conditions. The Vuelta Abajo region, with its mineral-rich soil, mild tropical climate, and stable humidity, produces tobacco leaves with deep, balanced, and complex flavors. Since the 19th century, Cuban cigars have followed merchants and politicians around the world, becoming a symbol of sophistication and class. The value of a Cuban cigar lies not only in the raw materials, but also in the human craftsmanship. From cultivation, harvesting, drying, and aging to the final rolling, every stage relies on the ancestral expertise of the torcedores. Each cigar is the result of years of aging leaves, the sensory skills of touch and smell, and professional memory. In the historic ambience of the Hotel Inglaterra, the cigar boxes on display are like historical artifacts. They represent an industry that has helped Cuba put its name on the world map. Despite all political and economic shifts for Cubans, cigars are a source of pride. And for tourists, they are a gateway into a culture where time, patience, and quality are always paramount. The song La Bamba is being performed here. It is one of the most popular songs in Cuba.
Para bailar la bamba.
There's another fascinating, quintessentially Latin thing in Cuba. Music never seems to stand still. The moment a melody starts playing, whether from an old radio, a street band, or a small speaker in a cafe, passersby are ready to start dancing anywhere and at any time. No stage is needed. For them, dancing is a cultural reflex, that natural way of communicating, just like talking or smiling. Life may be full of hardships, but music is how Cubans maintain their joy and optimism. Dancing is not about technical display, it's about releasing emotions and connecting with one another. And it is in those very moments defining the Cuban spirit where culture isn't confined to museums but lives vibrantly in the rhythm of daily life. You could say that while walking the streets of Havana, the capital, you will encounter music everywhere, particularly the sounds of percussion and string instruments. The people here play both the guitar and percussion beautifully. And all those lively rhythms make every passerby want to dance along. As you can see, even an elderly lady with aching legs can't resist the urge to dance. T-shirts, handmade crafts, and fine art pieces, especially t-shirts featuring Cuban icons, such as Che Guevara or the national flag. Oh, a Havana license plate. This is a car license plate.
Estas de la estrella son las más típicas. La canción esa de...
¿Cuánto es?
$10. $10, okay? I'm gonna buy a shirt with Che Guevara's image because to me, he is my idol. So I've just bought a shirt featuring Che Guevara's portrait. Walking inside here, there are many shops selling a wide variety of souvenirs where you can stop by and shop. This is the Numismatic Museum or the Coin Museum. Unfortunately, we can't go inside because it's currently closed and not operating. To this day, Cuba still uses a lot of coins, you know? They're called centavos or peso coins. The largest Cuban coin is the 3 peso coin, which has a very beautiful embossed image of Che Guevara on it.
I'm from Vietnam. Soy vietnamita.
Bueno, aquí en La Habana, de Vietnam, what's your name?
Mi nombre es Min.
Aquí disfrutando de nuestro ambiente cubano y para cantar una canción cubana.
Bueno.
A mí.
Ya, gracias.
Desde Cuba a Vietnam, le deseamos a ese pueblo solidario mucha fuerza y mucha... Vietnam, Cuba, unidos venceremos. Bueno.
Gracias.
This shows that when we tell our Cuban friends we are Vietnamese, they truly cherish and appreciate us. There is a slogan in Cuba, Vietnam, Cuba, Unidos Venceremos, which means united we will overcome. That is what the man just said before playing a tune on his trumpet. Plaza de Armas is the oldest square in Havana and is considered the cradle of the city's formation. This place used to be the administrative and military center of the Spanish. Spanish heritage since the 16th century, it truly lives up to its name, the Square of Arms. The square is surrounded by buildings that bear a strong colonial imprint, such as the Palacio de los Capitanes Generales, once the residence of Spanish governors, and now the City Museum of Havana. At the center of the square stands the monument of Carlos Manuel de Cespedes, known as the father of Cuban independence. And today, Plaza de Armas carries a more serene and ancient atmosphere. This is where Havana's past remains most palpable. Neither loud nor ostentatious, it quietly retells the story of Cuba's earliest days.
Cuba.
En Cuba, Ho Chi Minh, Ho Chi Minh. En La Habana, Guantanamera, Turururarara, Guajira, Guantanamera. Ho Chi Minh, en La Habana, Guantanamera. Happy good day. Guajira, Guantanamera. 1, 2, 3. Ho Chi Minh, Ho Chi Minh. En Cuba, Ho Chi Minh, Ho Chi Minh. Let's go. En La Habana, Ho Chi Minh, Ho Chi Minh. Eso, have a good day.
I must say, whenever I meet people on these streets and mention I'm Vietnamese, they are absolutely delighted. Even spontaneous bands like this might dedicate a song to us. They really know how to charm the tourists. They called out Vietnam and then sang Guantanamo, a song very familiar to Cubans and people all over the world. The entire mural, stretching high above, depicts the social activities of Havana's aristocracy during the early 19th century. These large murals, featuring figures in classic European attire, nobles and merchants in luxurious settings, were painted to recreate Havana's high society during the Spanish colonial era. Plaza Vieja once served as a living space for the wealthy, a place for trade, festivals, and social gatherings for the urban elite. Today, these paintings offer more than just decoration. They serve as a layer of memory woven directly into the city's living space. Amidst the aged and slow-paced capital of Havana, Plaza Vieja has become the place where the past is most vividly present, allowing passers-by to see how magnificent, luxurious, and distinctly European Havana used to be. Leaving Plaza Vieja and heading toward the cathedral district of Old Havana. The atmosphere feels more solemn, for standing before me now is the Cathedral de San Cristobal. This is one of Cuba's most significant religious landmarks, built in the 18th century in the signature Caribbean Baroque style. The cathedral makes a powerful impression with its massive limestone facade and asymmetrical bell towers, creating an ancient and rugged feel that perfectly captures the spirit of Spanish colonial architecture. Over hundreds of years, the stone surfaces have been weathered by sea winds and time. Yet, it is this very aging that gives the building its quintessential Havana beauty. Not polished, but filled with historical depth. The square in front of the cathedral was once the religious and social hub for the upper class. Today, it has become a crossroads between the past and the present. A place where tourists can stop and observe while locals leisurely chat on the stone steps. The cathedral is not just a place of worship, it is also a landmark reminding us that Havana has formed, developed, and aged alongside faith, power, and urban life for centuries. Leaving Old Havana, I passed by Morro Castle, a military fortress guarding the entrance to the bay. Havana from the 16th century. From here, you can see the entire entrance to the harbor, which was once the city's most vital line of defense against maritime attacks. Right from the entrance, we can see these massive cannons. This is one of those cannons. It's enormous, but it's quite hard to see because it's so dark. However, I'll try my best to show you what it looks like. To describe it briefly, this cannon is nearly 6 meters long. Look at this, it's almost 6 meters. The barrel is aimed out toward the sea. It's clearly stated here that this is a heritage site, so please do not touch. As you can see, the barrel of this particular cannon has been damaged. As for those cannons over there, as you can see, they are still in normal use today. Ultimately, they can still be fired even to this day. This cannon is truly an original piece. What makes El Morro special is the cannon firing ceremony, which takes place almost every night at 9 p.m. This ceremony dates back to the colonial era. When the cannon sounded, it signaled the closing of the city gates to ensure Havana's security at night. Today, while the blast no longer serves a military purpose, it is preserved as a living historical ritual. Construction of the Castillo de los Tres Reyes del Morro fortress began in 1589, at the end of the 16th century, during a time when Havana was becoming a strategic transshipment port for the Spanish Empire in the Americas. From here, gold, silver, and goods from the New World were gathered before crossing the Atlantic to Europe. Therefore, El Morro was not just a fortress, but a vital shield for the entire colonial system. In 1762, during the 7 Years' War, the British attacked and captured Havana after a months-long siege. The fall of El Morro was a massive shock to Spain, as it proved that a seemingly invincible defense system could still be overcome. Just 1 year later, under the 1763 Treaty of Paris, Britain returned Havana to Spain in exchange for Florida. This event forced the Spanish to restructure their entire defense system, building larger fortresses like La Cabaña and transforming this area into one of the most formidable fortification complexes in Latin America at that time. And it is not just a performance screen, it is Havana's way of honoring its past through sound, ritual, and a deep respect for the history that shaped this city. The story of Morro Fortress is truly fascinating. UP here, we can see El Morro, but it is also referred to as the site of the Cañonazo. These are old cannonballs from centuries ago. The history here dates back to the 18th century. There are plenty of souvenirs here for visitors to buy as gifts for their friends.
¿O no? ¿Ah, sí? ¿Cuánto cuesta una? $10.
I'm going to buy a Cuban national flag as a souvenir, everyone. Because for former international students or those who have lived, studied, or worked in Cuba, we all consider it our second home. That's why I'm buying this flag. I already have many Vietnamese flags, but this is the first time I'm bringing home a flag from another country, the Cuban national flag. Here's the Cuban flag, guys. It's very beautiful, and I truly cherish it.
Rất là đẹp. Và mình rất là trân quý lá quốc kỳ này.
I've never bought a national flag other than Vietnam's, but for Cuba, I'll buy one as a keepsake to hang in my workspace at home. I had a day to return to Cuba, but one day is just far too short. Yet it was just enough to reawaken the beautiful memories of the time I was lucky enough to live and study here. The old streets, the vintage cars, Latin music echoing from somewhere, and that slow, uniquely Cuban pace of life. It all felt as if it had never left me. To me, Cuba is not just a destination, it's a part of my memories, my youth, and my second home. Farewell, Havana, on this peaceful night. I'm taking with me more than just footage. It's the feeling of having returned home. See you again, Cuba, in the near future.